when you were traded to the Blackhawks, like you get there, you're ready to go to work. Like, what do you think the Blackhawks saw in you that a lot of the other coaches and teams maybe didn't see? Because you got there, you lit it up, and as you said, the rest is history.
Well, so apparently when they were trading for Brandon Bochansky, this is the story I was told by someone who did the trading. They were there to watch Peter Callis from Boston. So the two GMs showed up to us, and we're playing in Hartford that game. And apparently, I had a couple goals and an assist. So the whole Chicago brass showed up because, again, they thought they were getting Peter Callis, who was I think, a first rounder. And during the game, the GM and the assistant GM, Rick Dudley and Dale Talon at the time, they said, "Who's number 10?" This is what I was told. And so they started to watch me closer. And by the end of the game, they all said for sure, we want 10. We don't want Callis. And I think Boston kind of laughed because Callis again was a year younger and he was a higher pick. So they're like, yeah, basically, I think Boston was like, yeah, take him, like, but they're like, this guy's leading the team in scoring as a rookie. They're like, no, no, you can have him. Peter was a bigger guy than me, stronger, faster. He didn't have the same ability to think the game or pass or anything like that, like I did. But he was just one of those young guys that looked like he was going to be amazing. So maybe that fooled the Bruins a little bit. And yeah, that's kind of how it happened. So I think Dale and Dudley equally saw something in me that day that they wanted to instill into their team. And I think I might have got in a bit of a tussle that game, but they saw like a few different qualities that they were looking for in the trade. And that's kind of what happened. So that's the story I was told by a couple of the people that did the trading. And that's maybe what they saw and what they needed in order to build a championship team one day. Again, I'm not sure they really looked at me and said, this guy's going to be a piece, but maybe.
I love that story though, man, because Boston, they're like, all right, man, here, just take him. The best part about all this, Kris, is in your first full season with Chicago during the 2008-2009 season, you had 53 points in 78 games. In that first full season, was there any like screw you, Boston? Not in like a malicious way, but like, or was it just like, hey, like I'm just doing my thing, forget them, let's move on?
No, no, I definitely took it personal. And I felt that, I want to show them wrong. I want to show, I remember there was a guy at the bar when I was 19. He told me I'll never make it. And I said the day, I said, when I win the Stanley Cup, I'm going to bring it back here and I'm going to put the cup right on the ledge of this bar. And I was like saying that kind of, as a joke bit. But I still remember like he was in my brain, like anyone who ever doubted me was in my brain. And that's kind of how that's what I felt was motivating me a lot through those times.
Do you think the motivation, and there's no right or wrong answer to this, the motivation from external, do you think that that also could be negative in some ways?
Yeah, I think you can. I think you focus maybe sometimes too much on the wrong. So again, I think when you're working with athletes, it's making them understand what fuels them. Challenges fuel me. I know that, sometimes a challenge fuels me and a challenge fuels a lot of other athletes. That's generally why they become athletes because they're challenged by something. So I think it can have a negative consequence too, 100%. Yin yang, right? Anything that has positive obviously has some sort of negative, I believe. And um, yeah, I think sometimes it will let you focus a little too much on the wrong.
The only reason why I ask is because I feel like I've had some of that like with my career. The goalies like growing up, all of a sudden they went from like the littlest dude to then being like 6'5". I'm about like 5'10", 5'11", depending on which 7-Eleven I walk to, when I'm walking out.
I'm
Yeah.
5'11".
So we get each other, dude. Like I just remember them like, oh, like Kushner, you're too short, you're too small, or you're too this, you're too that. And I would definitely channel that and use it. And then I think as I got older, I started, working with like a kind of like a mental, like cognitive coach. And she was like, it's not necessarily always a good thing to kind of take that external and use it as motivation. She's like, you kind of have to kind of tightrope that like fine line, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you're searching for motivation, I think the biggest thing for motivation is the discipline after, though, is like, are you going to be disciplined in order to fulfill whatever motivated you? So, sometimes, yeah, if that motivation creates discipline, then maybe it's a good thing. But if you're always constantly looking for it, yeah, that could be a whole other conversation. I don't know.
You ended up winning the Stanley Cup with Chicago in your second full season, their first cup since 1961. Like, what did that feel like, Kris? Just everything you had gone through from childhood to juniors to that moment.
Yeah, that was it was very emotional. I still remember the cup coming on the ice, not thinking it was real, seeing my girlfriend, wife now in the stands with my dad and brothers. Um, seeing my brothers crying in the stands like little babies, and calling my mom at home and grandparents. It's something that I wish everyone could kind of experience the feeling. It's like you got injected with, I don't know, ephedrine or something, and like it's crazy. I don't know. It's like pure ecstasy. I really don't know how else to put it. So, and it only lasts for maybe a couple days, but it's the most natural high you'll ever get is winning at that for me anyways.
When you won the cup again in 2015 with Chicago, your second stint with the Blackhawks, did it kind of have like that same euphoric feeling, or was it any different just because it was second time's the charm?
It was different. It was also I think the second time was more a sense of relief. Like, oh, everything you went through and you battled again and you got it done. I think it was a sense of relief and also happiness because people all around Chicago were feeling the same way as you. It's really a collective happiness. And Chicago's, to me, it's the best city in the world, great people, great place to play hockey, incredible sports town. So, I mean, if people ever look at the 2010 Stanley Cup parade, and I know 13 and 15 were big, but nothing was like 10. There was millions of people on the street, in the buildings, throwing confetti, celebrating. It was just a day that I don't know if it'll ever be replicated again, unless the Leafs win. But it was a crazy moment to take in, and you almost didn't even realize it was real. And then you look at some of the video, if you ever check it out on YouTube, just see how many people are running behind buses and in between subways, and it's mind altering. You won't even believe it unless you see it, which you can see it.
You played with some fantastic players over the course of your NHL career, especially in Chicago. What did you learn from playing alongside guys like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews?
Learned a lot, even though they were younger. So I would like to think it's funny when I think back and I'm looking at them in the room and, they're younger than me. And I'm kind of like, what's this young punk know? And why is he my captain? I should be his captain. Um, it's funny your mindset in those days and those times. But, I just see two guys that love the game, that gave everything they had to the city. They put their health and every single part of their body on the line to win a Stanley Cup for their family, city, everything, whatever it may be. And how they acted in the moments that mattered the most. So pressure moments, like, you go into a Stanley Cup game 5, 6, and you can win. You can feel like you're going to win, but every moment against you, you can also feel like you're going to lose. It's the biggest roller coaster of emotions ever, and it's really hard to play and it's really hard to focus. And those guys just seem to find ways every time to just keep playing their game, keep focusing, and keep executing what they need to do without being able to block out all the other crap. So their ability to play at those moments to me is still the most impressive thing. I mean, Patrick Kane, to me, game gets closer, guys start squeezing their sticks more. You're in the third overtime and he's still out making plays backdoor, setting up OT winners and doing whatever it takes to do to win a series or a game or whatever it may be.
Kris, after 15 seasons, 11 in the NHL and 2 Stanley Cups, you retired. In a statement released by the NHL Players Association, you said, quote, "I took a lot for granted in my time in the NHL, but the one thing I never took for granted were the relationships made with my teammates and staff of the hockey clubs I played for," end quote. Can you kind of talk about those relationships and how important they were to you?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So you get on a plane, you're eating filet mignon, you're complaining about that, you're complaining about the shrimp not being cooked enough. And I think that was my favorite part of the NHL, was being able to just complain and bitch about anything. And that's still who I am today. It's kind of I like to do those things just to always get a reaction out of people and to joke around and have fun with it. But you meet so many people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, who have different beliefs and have they've had a different upbringings, and those are the people that you band with in order to have one common goal. And I just always, thought of all the friendships I've made, a lot of guys who I still talk to and hang out with today, and we still communicate. And some of these guys you'll be friends with till the day you die. So, nor whether it's you die tomorrow or in 60 years from now, you're hoping you'll always have that with them. And I believe I will, especially the ones we won with. So, and even the staff, you think back on all the staff and everything they did for you, when I came in the league from when I finished. And those are people that, you make incredible memories with as well, because you're with every single day in the room. And they do a lot for you, a lot. So that's why you always look back and think it's the memories and the people of all different backgrounds that you meet and have a common goal with.